Hello viewers, here is a Sylvania 20 watts compact fluorescent soft white bulb. This is a Circline style bulb, and this is intended to go into a regular light fixture to replace a 75 watts incandescent bulb. So let's open this up and see what we have here. I found a bunch of these on the computer recently for real cheap. I bought them, hopefully these are good. These are pretty small. They're small enough to fit into any lamp that I would like. Made in Japan, so they'll probably last a long time. This does not seem to indicate where it was made. If it was made in China, I'm sure it would say it on there, so maybe this was made in Japan as well, I'm not sure. It looks like this just clips onto here, and then the bulb plugs in. Don't think it's directional. Plugs in here. And then this supposedly just kind of mounts on here like this. I don't know what kind of plastic this is made out of, but I'd be worried about this flexing after the, flexing and breaking rather after the first couple of replacements. Okay, so this is a 3000 Kelvin versus 2700, which is what the incandescents usually are considered. Let's go ahead and plug this in, and I believe this is not a preheat. I think this is the instant on stuff, which I don't like as much as preheat. Does it say on here? Doesn't seem to say. Okay, well, it's pretty easy to find out. Let's turn it on. It's an instant on. And it is in fact instantly on. There was no delay there at all. Okay, so it's on now. I'll turn the other lights off. And it's not really cold necessarily, but I wouldn't call that a warm white. It's kind of more on the cool side. But it's certainly acceptable. I wouldn't use these everywhere. There's certain places I still prefer incandescents and halogens, but as those are becoming more difficult to find, I have been making the switch over to some of these kind of lights in certain lamps. In the computer room, there's a number of lamps that I can use these in the living room, in the kitchen, pretty much everywhere except for the bedroom. I would be okay with using these, because in the bedroom I like to have the remote control so I can turn the lights off from in the bed, and I don't think these work too well on the remotes. I'll have to check it again, I don't really remember, but anyways, so that's kind of neat. So this claims it'll last, well, let's talk about these lifespan claims here, because there was some commentary I received recently on another light video I had done, and there was some pretty serious allegations that were made as far as comparing my commentary about the bulbs to the fake news media, which I think is kind of disproportionate, because this is just a hobby video about light bulbs. the news media is an outlet that millions and millions of people flock to gather information about the world and try to make critical, life-altering decisions based off of that supposedly information. And so that's a very serious issue. This, if I output my opinion in the video and someone takes it as a fact, it's almost inconsequential when we're talking about light bulbs. Now that aside, I still believe that LED lights are a gimmick, and I stand by the statements I made in that video. And this is why. In that particular video, I had talked about a high pressure sodium light, security light. And in the context of that video, I had stated that the LED lights was a gimmick. And I'm going to make the same statement here. In the context of this light fixture, if you have this light fixture in your lamp, the LED light is a gimmick. Because this light bulb has significant energy savings. 75 watts versus 20 watts. That's it was about a quarter of the power. Supposedly, I believe the LED is like maybe it would be 9 watts or something around that for a 75 watt equivalent. Watts isn't even a correct way to measure light. It should be measured in lumens, because that's a measurement of light. And so what you really need to get an accurate comparison, you have to look at the lumens, which is right here. See that 1200 lumens, 1210 lumens? That's the number that you want to look at, because watts doesn't describe light output. Watts describes power consumption. And so in this case, they're saying that this is equivalent to a 75 watt incandescent light bulb. Now, the lifespan of this, the bulb, the glass bulb, has a claimed lifespan of 10,000 hours. And the ballast has a claimed lifespan of 50,000 hours. Now, the reason I believe that LED lights would be a gimmick is because most LED light bulbs that I see, as far as like household situations go, have a lifespan somewhere between 7,000 hours and 15,000 hours. It varies by size and brand and whatever, but usually the claims are somewhere around that. And so they're not lasting much longer than this light is. Now this light, you can change the bulb approximately 4 times, and it's probably much cheaper, or rather I know it's cheaper, to buy a new tube. Well, it used to be, if it still is, because these are getting scarce. How much longer it's going to be cheaper, I don't know. But it used to be cheaper to buy a new tube than to buy a whole new LED light bulb, because the LED light bulbs aren't that cheap. They're getting cheaper cost-wise and manufacturing-wise, but that's a different story. They're getting cheaper, but they're still not that cheap. So, would an LED light bulb really be that much cheaper to operate? See, this is the question, and this is where I find the advertising to be extremely gimmicky and misleading. Even this one is doing it too. It says saves $55, but it doesn't really save $55, because you have to subtract the purchase price from that $55. Now, I don't know what these would have retailed for originally. I paid a couple dollars a piece for these. So for me, this would be saving a lot of money. But if you pay, let's say $8 for your fancy LED light bulb, and it claims it's going to save, all this money in electricity, well, first off, you have to subtract the $8. Okay, and then you have to look at the lifespan. Now, I don't have a LED bulb in here, but let's say, well, this is claiming that it saves 55 per. Is that per bulb or per ballast? That's 750 hours. Where's that 750 number come from? This is saying 10,000. Now see, even this is confusing because they're making different claims. Well, anyways, the point is, the LED white, as far as efficiency goes, compared to this, it's not much more. And the LED is more expensive. So, if you look at how much how much money you're going to save over the lifespan of the product, it's not going to be much different. Okay, if the LED bulb uses less energy but it costs more to buy it, you're probably not saving any money. And it's the same case as all these crazy appliances today. Oh, that's great, this new refrigerator takes 100 watts less than the old refrigerator. Well, the old refrigerator, it lasted 4 decades. The new one's going to last 5 years and then break, and it's going to cost an expensive repair to get it fixed. So you're not saving any money because the savings, the electrical savings, whatever that is, are almost always washed out or equalized by the initial purchase cost and cost of repairs. I mean, you're not going to repair a light bulb, but for an appliance anyways. And so in this particular case, with these bulbs, if you really have, let's say 20 years ago, because these do last a long time. And when was this made? I think this was made in the early 2000s. But anyways, case in point, if you put all these bulbs in your lights, and you have all these bulbs going, and they say, oh, you got to change it to LED because it's going to save so much money. You're not. It's just not. And so that's why I find the LED lights are a complete gimmick, because they're not really any better. And then of course you have the problems with the LED lights. You have the weird coloring, you have the flickering, which gives me a headache, so I can't use them. And LED lights also, they dim over time because the way they're made, and one can argue that the manufacturing quality is not what it should be. Well, that is true. And one could argue that the manufacturing quality is not relevant, but it kind of is, because if you're buying the bulb, you can only buy what's out there, and what's out there is all cheap manufacturing. So the way they make the LED bulbs, the reason why they get hot and the reason why they get dim over time is because they're forcing more power through the diode than it was really designed to handle. And so over time it starts to get a little bit dimmer, it starts to blacken, and then it fails, usually prematurely, usually well beyond the radial lifespan. These bulbs have been around for 20 years. We've seen these bulbs last as long as they claim they're going to last. The LED lights, they don't. All this stuff that they make nowadays does not last anywhere near as long as it used to. And so it's ridiculous. Now, people are going to get in and say, oh, there's mercury in these bulbs. There is mercury in these bulbs. Get it recycled properly, it's fine. How many LED lights end up in the landfill? They got plastic on them. They put plastic in the landfill. Plastic doesn't degrade. The earth can't compost plastic. So you're throwing out your LED light bulbs. Sure, you're not putting mercury in there anymore, but you're putting plastic in there, which creates the same problems. The earth doesn't biodegrade plastic, so tree roots and stuff isn't going to grow through there. Soil's not going to be very usable because it's not going to be held together by the roots that aren't growing because of the stupid LED plastic bulbs in the landfill. It's the same trash. They really should be recycled. These should be recycled, so should LED light bulbs. It's the same thing over and over again. So, hopefully that kind of deals with that situation. Because there was some really serious allegations on that one video. So, anyways, that's my commentary about the LED lights. I'm not using them. I don't like them. They're not made right. These bulbs, they're made right. They're pretty satisfactory in my opinion. They got vents in the top for the heat to come out. They're made right. And I expect this to last as long as it claims it's going to.